I love deep spirituality, but sometimes I just want a miracle. What I learned here from a Welsh coal miner is a pretty great starting point. Welcome to 5 Minute Spirituality, a look at how the big-time spiritual masters help you enjoy and thrive in your life right now. As you picked up, I like both chatting with God and meditating. And in that spirit, I've taken inspiration from a quote from Mother Teresa. This is from her book, No Greater Love. I don't think, she says, there's anyone who needs God's help and grace as much as I do, and you can believe her. Sometimes I feel so helpless and weak. I think that is why God uses me, she says, because I cannot depend on my own strength. I rely on Him 24 hours a day. My secret is very simple. I pray. Love to pray, she says. Feel the need to pray often during the day. Prayer enlarges the heart until it is capable of containing God's gift of Himself. Just praying a lot seems like a great thing to do. But it's true in contemplative spirituality, there's not a great category for needing stuff and asking God to give it to you. That, as we talked about last time, fits better on the faith side of things. But like Mother Teresa, as human beings, we do need things. So of course we want to go to an infinite loving God for help. The main risk of this, though, is that instead of being still and centered with all those needs, perhaps we become frothy and agitated as we don't yet see our prayers answered. And Mother Teresa does allow for contemplative prayer itself in this quote. She had her nuns do an hour of contemplative prayer each day. And again, her ultimate outcome has the prayer we're doing enlarging our heart so God can live there. That said, another intriguing picture of bringing together being needy, believing God cares, and keeping all the benefits of meditation and contemplative spirituality has come from what might seem like a surprising or maybe just an obscure source, a revivalist from the Welsh revival of the early 20th century named Rhys Howells. Howells was memorialized in a vivid, if perhaps awkwardly written book called Rhys Howells' Intercessor by a man named Norman Grubb. And the thing Howells taught me for our purposes here is an idea he calls gaining the position, which is praying until God tells you to quit praying for something, because God has already granted the thing you're praying for, even though you haven't yet seen the answer. It's an intriguing crossing of the lines between faith and spirituality. So there are stories of Rhys Howells doing this and seeing, say, England miraculously saved from a Nazi invasion during World War II, or seeing someone basically dead not actually die. So this goes back to a very important part of the Christian faith tradition, which we see, say, in Genesis 15, verse 6, which says, Abraham believed the Lord, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. Believing God's promise to us seems quite close to God's heart. A fascinating story about this is in Luke chapter 7. It involves a Roman soldier called a centurion who wants Jesus to heal his dying beloved servant. But when Jesus starts off to see him, he sends word through others that actually Jesus doesn't even need to come. He thinks Jesus can just do whatever he does at a distance, and if so, the centurion is confident the servant would be healed, and he turns out to be right. The centurion had, in Rhys Howells' world, gained the position. So this again is an intriguing bridging of the faith and spirituality worlds. It involves chatting with God, as we talked about 2 videos ago, because you chat with God about when you can stop praying for something. This all happens in relationship. And it also involves being still, the contemplative thing, because you do in fact stop praying. Here's how this has been meaningful to me. All involving things that could turn for the worse at any moment, so here's hoping. But as you'll see, that's the nature of gaining the position. So my family and I have, in our own small Rhys Howells-like way, taken some risk because we felt God had told us to. But as life has gone on, those risks have felt financially even riskier than similar choices I made as a younger man with fewer responsibilities. The way we've been able to do it is to pray until God seemingly has said to us, don't sweat it. You've gained the position on your finances. And then doing our best to imitate Abraham, we've gulped and moved forward. Or for years, not that you would know this, I'm sure from the video, I've wanted to lose weight and get into better shape. I've prayed about this to be sure quite a bit, and I've often felt God being encouraging about it, but nothing lasting ever happened. Do I need to keep praying my whole life? If so, will I lose faith for this? But as I've continued with my meditation and centering prayer practices, it seemed clear to me that I've been going about it the wrong way. That instead, I should be praying to gain the position on this. So I did. And after a few months, I felt like God said I'd indeed gain the position. To which, faith-filled person that I am, I said, well, not to the naked eye. Months went by with no change. And then I, on no warning, decided I'd start this high-protein, low-carb diet the next day, and suddenly I'd lost real weight, which I seem, fingers crossed, to be keeping off. Here's hoping. But the power of gaining the position seems to be that you rest in God's promise before you've seen it actually happen, as was true with Abraham, as was true with the centurion. So as a part of my daily contemplative practice, at the end of my meditation, often I'll review the positions that God has told me I've gained, mostly to feel encouraged. And I'll also pray for those positions I'm hoping to gain. As a part of my review, I feel as though God often, as we chat, gives me percentages, which has been interesting to me. So he might say that my gaining the financial position is at 100%, even if things might feel mildly vulnerable. But he might say my gaining the position on, say, joy is 40%, very much on the way to 100%, but still emerging. The point is that, like Abraham and the centurion, I can take the promise to the bank. I can rest in it, even if it's not yet fully visible. So after your meditation or centering prayer today, consider giving this a try and seeing what you think. It will press into your growth in chatting with God, to be sure, and I hope you'll find it, as I have, to be a delightful crossing of the lines between faith and contemplative spirituality. Next week, we'll look at this big question that these great spiritual teachers give a lot of thought to, of how we can both dream for big things and also be happy right now. And if you enjoy 5-Minute Spirituality, you might also enjoy a lively weekly podcast on these things called Journey On with Dave Smeltzer. And I also host a vibrant online group on this stuff each week with people from all over. To learn more, shoot us an email. See you soon.